right now, and we are going on Facebook Live. So for myself, Professor Shanu Jain, Assistant Professor, DME Management School, along with the Zoom management team, Mr. Bhupender Singh Sir, Assistant Professor, DME Management School, and Dr. Shuchi Goyal Ma'am, Assistant Professor, DME Management School, are here to welcome you all to this session. So a very good afternoon to the guests, the speakers we have from the various countries across the globe. Professor Dr. Purva Ranjan Ma'am, Head DME Management School, conference conveners, faculty members, and dear audience. I invite you all to the second day of this 8-day Global Strategic Management Conference 2020. I'm delighted to inform you all that yesterday we had a wonderful and an insightful inaugural session to set the theme of the conference. Our today's session is based on the sub-theme of human resource and organization behavior. Remote working and its allied HR and OB aspects relating to employee engagement and motivation for home-based working, productivity issues, work-life balance are some of the key areas we will be discussing in this session. Our keynote speaker and session chair for today's session is Professor Aline de Masuda. Please correct me, ma'am, if I pronounced it correct or not. So Professor Aline from Spain. Very beautiful country indeed, ma'am. Our most favored travel destination. So Professor Aline holds a PhD and a master's degree in industrial organizational psychology from the State University of New York and Missouri State University, respectively. Previously, ma'am was a senior project manager for international survey research and currently the part of Tars Watson. Ma'am has also worked at the Workforce Research and Marketing Intelligence Department at IBM and was a postdoctoral researcher at IESE Business School. Ma'am has conducted various research projects in motivation and employee attitudes, work-family interface, and flexible working arrangements such as teleworking across culture. Ma'am has published in various research journals like Journal of Vocational Behavior, Career Development International, Academy of Management Discoveries, and the Journal of Applied Psychology and International Review. Ma'am is currently an associate professor at EADA Business School at the Department of Strategy, Leadership, and People. I once again extend you a very warm welcome to this session on behalf of entire DME fraternity, ma'am. Also,
thank you very much.
Welcome, ma'am. Also, the internal session chair for today's session with us is Professor Dr. Seema ma'am. Ma'am is currently an associate professor with DME. She has done her bachelor's in science and LLB from Punjab University. She's an MBA from IMA, Delhi, a PhD holder in management from Aligarh Muslim University. Ma'am has a long corporate stint of 18 years, which includes banking and finance industry, and is associated with DME for the past 2 years. Ma'am is also the convener, mentoring cell, quality assurance, and convener, placement cell at DME Law School. I welcome you, ma'am. So we have Professor Dr. Seema, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Anu ma'am, and welcome Dr. Aline to the conference. We are privileged to have you here.
Thank you. Nice meeting you virtually.
Yeah, same here.
I welcome all the paper presenters for the session. So we would be looking forward to Professor Aline ma'am's masterclass, and post that I'll be briefing you about the conference presentation and the judgment criteria and the guidelines. So over to you, Professor Aline ma'am. You may share your screen and begin with the session.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Hold on. Okay, here you are. So thank you very much. I appreciate your invitation to be here and sharing some of my experience with remote working. I've been doing research for quite a while on the topic. I got interested when I was working at IBM. I worked remotely. In fact, I worked remotely all my life with IBM as a consultant and then in an academic world. So I always had the interest on the topic. As we've heard, my interest is in the research of work-life balance. So teleworking have been used for that. What I want to do today is mainly speak of three things. First, what we know so far in terms of the challenges and opportunities for remote working, right? What we know in the science right now and after the pandemic, well, right now during the pandemic, even before the pandemic, right? Second, I'm going to talk about some future trends and research opportunities. And third, I'm going to give you some tips, and this is more for the audience, the student audience, or the people who are working using remote work. What are some of the things you can do to actually take advantage of this type of work arrangement and overcome with some of the challenges that we're going to speak. But before I go into these three topics, it's always good to define what we study, right? And like any construct in science, teleworking has been defined and called several names, right? Here we talk about remote working. There's the term teleworking, telecommuting, virtual work. I like this definition. This is a recent paper that did a review post-COVID, right? And it has two aspects of remote working. One, obviously, it's away from the office, right? It's remote. And the second is the use of computer technologies. But of course, there's different types of remote working. And it all depends on the frequency that one does also, and the mobility, right, of remote working. For instance, and this is based on the International Labour Organization, right? If someone works from home every day and it's only from home, then you'd call that person a regular home teleworker, right? But of course, you can work every day remotely, but you can be on the road, right? Those are typically the salespeople. You just travel. The consultants who work every day, they are going from one place to another. That's high mobility teleworking. And that doesn't mean that you work from home. You might work from a coffee shop. You might work from a co-working environment, right? And then there's the occasional teleworker. That's what I actually have been doing for the past more than 10 years. It's a company gives you the possibility to work from home. You choose when and you do your schedule. So usually 2-3 days a week or in the needs basis, okay? And now that we understand the definition of telework, let's talk about some of the challenges. And I'm going over, and I'm just asking here, I don't know if you're allowed to do chat. I see that you're not here, but if you are, you feel free. I'm not going to be reading it, but feel free to say what are some of the things, the challenges that you experience right now, and if we can talk about it in the questions and answers. And I'm pretty sure you've seen this video. I have to put it here because it's hilarious. This is.
Ma'am, I'm afraid, does this video has a sound also, because we're not able to
No,
hear
it's
this.
fine. I have a sound, but you don't necessarily need to see it. You can see the images.
Sorry to interrupt. Yes, sure.
No problem. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is a real life situation, and it went viral a few years ago. And that was before Zoom had the screen on the background, right? So this is one of the challenges that I'm actually going to talk about, which is I can move on, which is the interruption that we have in the workplace of family, which is quite interesting because teleworking, as you can see, it was introduced in the 70s. It's been quite a while, and it's been introduced mainly to kind of deal with the oil crisis. Now you bring people home, you don't have to use the car very much. But lately, people have been calling on to do in HR to introduce teleworking mainly to help you conciliate work life, right? But these are some of the challenges, and in some of those challenges you're going to see actually work-family conflict is one challenge, right? This is a paper, the last one. It's a paper that I've done in 2012, a cross-cultural comparison And we show that not every cultures actually, or every environment actually benefits from teleworking in terms of managing work-life balance, right? We found that in Asian countries, and Asian here we define, they were mainly Chinese, Japan, Korean, it wasn't Southeast Asia, but we found in those countries, telework, individuals who telework or work remotely, they actually experience more work-family conflict, okay? One of the things that, the biggest challenge that people have seen in the literature is the sense of isolation. But it depends on the type. For instance, the meta-analysis of Gajendran and Harrison found that it's the intensity. If you do teleworking every day, you could harm relationships. But they didn't find this difficult of relationships if you do teleworking just a few times, right? And there was a very interesting paper by Golden and Edelstone just recently looking at the difference between teleworker and non-teleworker in terms of career prospects. And they found that there was actually difference in terms of salaries. The teleworkers received lower salaries. And the idea here is that if you're not there in the workplace, you're not visible, right? So you might see that you might harm your career perspectives. Alan et al. Mentioned about knowledge transfer being a difficulty. That's something I'm going to tell you that is not very well studied, but it's something that could be a problem. And very interesting, and this has been found over and over in the literature, is that teleworkers, in fact, work more hours than non-teleworkers. We just recently did some studies in Argentina and Spain. We found the same thing. A lot of people working more than 8 hours a day. So the difficulty of being disconnected, right? And it can have problems. One study actually found that there was negative aspects. So as you can see, there are several challenges of remote working. But like I said, there are opportunities, right? You have a lot of things that you can actually do while working from home. This meta-analysis, they found that several, as you can see there, in people who work from home, they actually do sometimes have high performance. There is actually some boundary conditions, and I'll explain them later, but they may have lower intentions to quit, more commitment. They experience higher satisfaction, low stress, low work-family conflict. Remember, that was a meta-analysis in 2007. They didn't look at moderators, but there was aspects of low work-family conflict. In fact, a lot of this research was done in the US and Anglo-Saxon countries, but that's how it was. And all of that increased actually perceptions of autonomy. And this meta-analysis showed that the benefits of teleworking was in fact through the perception of having high autonomy, right? You have autonomy to take, to decide when and where to work. And the interesting thing here just recently is when it works. This works even more for jobs of higher complexity, right? Academics, for us, is really, really good to work from home. I actually perform more. When I do research, I tell my colleagues, when I'm very busy, I work from home. I save 1 hour of commuting time, even though I live really quickly, right? Really close from home, I go by bike. But it's just getting together, talking to your colleagues and coming back. So you do save some time, but you have to have certain type of job to do it. Obviously, waitresses cannot do that. And some of the other jobs also not, still you cannot telework. And then just recently, I published a paper showing that people who are given the option to work remotely, they also sustain engagement over time. We follow up a group of employees for a year, and we found that those who were able to work from home, they didn't lower the engagement, because usually over time your engagement lowers, right? They actually sustain the level of engagement, and that was mediated by goal progress, meaning people who were able to work from home, they were more likely to progress towards their working goals. And that's why they sustain engagement over time. So there is some possible aspects, some good opportunities for teleworking. But of course, that was all before COVID. And I'm very interested because I've seen there's some papers as well today that we're going to discuss about what now teleworking times of COVID. and a lot of media attention, a lot of people calling, a lot of journalists calling me and saying, okay, is this teleworking? Now, can we call that remote working? Well, I mean, by definition, you can, but remember, a lot of the things here, which is the autonomy, which really makes teleworking works, we kind of lost it because we're being obliged to telework. So I'm going to present 3 papers that are already published. One is from China sample. It was a very interesting paper. I recommend you to go over, look at and read it closely. But what they found is that usually right now in China, the challenge that they're having is higher work-family conflict. They are feeling lonely. They are experiencing a lot of procrastination and having challenges in terms of communicating. And interesting, remote working was positively related with all of that and emotional exhaustion, right? What they found that I liked it is that they started looking at what type of people actually cope with that better. And they found that self-discipline, people who have high self-discipline, along with a social support, were able to reduce this loneliness, okay? So that was a sample from China. There was a sample, an European sample as well, published with a pretty wide sample of 2,046 people, found again teleworking here having higher work-family conflicts. So here we have a mode of work that was introduced in HR to actually help you manage work-family conflict, and is actually not helping right now when we're having the pandemic. And I can tell that personally. I don't know how it is in India, but here in Spain, when we were in lockdown, my daughter was also working here. So I was having to school teach her and work at the same time. So there's nothing compared to the previous years of my experience, right? So the challenge was very, very different. That's why with my colleagues, two of my students, in fact, we did some research really quickly. And this was more kind of a descriptive data. We didn't do any hypothesis. And this is what we found in terms of, we actually found more positive things than we thought. We thought that people would not accomplish their goals. They would not gonna be producing well. So in fact, they said that they're actually doing well in terms of productivity. And there's actually research done in the US by Harvard, similar surveys finding similar things. People actually were coping doing teleworking. And the interesting things that the people actually, when they were asked if they wanted to work from home, even after this crazy experience of COVID, 77% wanted their company to implement teleworking. Teleworking in Spain was not very well widely implemented before the COVID, right? So even with this experience, they felt that it was useful. But like I said, almost half work more than 8 hours a day. A lot of people felt that they don't have the space, the adequate space, and they have difficulties of separating work and personal lives. Besides problems with connectivity. That was in Spain. Actually, that was in Spain, yes. I thought I had it here, but I don't have it. In Argentina, we found very similar things. We found as well that half of the people were experiencing work-family conflict. And we also found that they were having issues of connectivity. Okay, so let's talk about some of the, so this is the literature. Now let's talk about some of the future trends. And I put it here in terms of moderators. Not as well, I'm gonna show you a model that I think that is for future research, but I wanted to explain more for the audience who may not be researchers. So what can you do? When would teleworking actually works? What the literature says now, right? First, the job characteristics, right? Teleworking is not here for everyone. Like research has been showing clearly, like as I mentioned, the research, the more complex the job, the better the effects of teleworking on the outcomes, right? Teleworking, another characteristic is task interdependency. If you depend to work on teams, teleworking becomes more complex because you're gonna have to learn how to work in virtual teams, right? When you have low social support is also a problem. And also, there's some research recently showing the level of responsibility, right? If you have higher responsibility, it's very different than if you don't have it. In fact, in the data that we have right now from Argentina, we found that, for instance, managers are working many more hours than non-managers when they're working from home, right? The responsibility is there, so it's much more difficult to be disconnected. The employee profile. teleworking is not for everyone. I ask that every time I teach that, and I've been teaching teleworking for a long time. I always ask people to raise their hands who wants to work from home. A lot of people don't want to work from home. They like to just dress up and socialize in the workplace, right? A lot of people don't have the self-discipline. They need to have someone to be on top of them, right? So self-discipline, that's the research from Wong et al. There is some research showing that emotional stability is also a moderator. Sociability, as you can see, high need for achievement, high need for autonomy, and conscientiousness. So very interesting research already emerging showing that teleworking is not for everyone. And I think companies as HR, in terms of HR, should know what is your employee profile when trying to determine teleworking. It's not only about if you have kids or not. It's if you're capable of working or not from home, and if you're motivated to work. Like I mentioned, the intensity of work is very, very important. Usually, most of research shows a curvilinear relationship of the outcomes, meaning it's better to telework a few times a week, not every day, not never, right? The company should give them the opportunity and the autonomy. It's all about autonomy. Telework works through autonomy. So if you can have that autonomy, and people can choose, then teleworking will have an effect. That brings me to the other point, which is schedule autonomy, right? One thing is choosing the place to work, right? Right now in the COVID, we can choose, we're working from home. The another thing is that if your boss or if the company actually gives you the time or the autonomy to choose, the power to choose when to work, right? Certain jobs you can. I was talking to an IT person, actually from India, and he said it's a disaster in my company because people like I'm supposed to be their client. They're supposed to be serving clients, and they disappear. They're not there. So that's a problem. If your job is to be constantly available to the client and you're not there, then there is a problem. But if your job is like the job of a professor, right? To have good evaluations or to publish. If you don't publish, people will know. If you have bad evaluations, people will know. So it's easier to manage, right? So you don't really need to be on top of the schedule. In terms of the company, when you have certain time, then you have to make sure that you talk to the boss about that. So schedule autonomy, it's tricky. It's tricky, but I think it's something that it's very important for teleworking to work. Mainly because if I have the autonomy, I can really balance my work-life balance. I can work here. Afterwards, I can go do my grocery shopping, come back and work a little bit more, right? Another aspect is the resources. And resources here, I put very few research in terms of like research. They do research in terms of time, resources of time and emotional resources. But here I'm thinking, more practically speaking, whether the company is paying for certain things or not. I don't know how it is a discussion in India, but here in Spain, there's a big discussion. They just created a law. Who is going to pay for the expenses? Who's going to pay for the computer? Who's going to pay to the electricity, to the heat in the house, everything, right? To the table, to the desk that you need. And then I think we don't have too much research of what type of resources companies actually pay and the effect of teleworking on outcomes. So this is an opportunity to it. And I think it will definitely be a moderator of the effect of teleworking on outcomes. Okay. What else? This is a very important type of monitoring. I just had a workshop I did with small business owners in Spain, right? Because we're talking about how to cope with teleworking. Many of the business owners didn't believe in telework, still don't believe in teleworking, but they have to now because it's not an option. And the main concern that they have is how to manage, how to monitor performance. How do I know that the guy is going to be working or the girl is going to be working from home, right? And very few research. There's one research talking, which is very interesting, saying the type of monitoring, like influences on the outcome of teleworking. For instance, if the supervisor calling to give information, this is monitoring to give information, receive information, that's positive. But supervisors calling to see if they're working, it's negative. Of course, we need to know the context of the culture, right? Where is this place? It's not India, it's not, I think it was in the US, this one, or in German, I'm not sure. But also organizational culture, right? there's some research showing that teleworking leads to higher work-family conflict when the culture is demanding. I worked in 2 companies and I experienced 2 different things in terms of teleworking. At IBM, that was in the 2004, nobody was at work. I had 4 bosses, they would not call me. I actually felt isolated. It was in New York. I needed people, right? But they were like, they would leave me alone and things would flow and I would work pretty well. Working in a different company in Chicago was a more consulting environment. The minute I would work from home, the boss would call constantly. So it was kind of counterproductive. I had to explain myself all the time. So the culture and the leadership, going back to the other one, is also important. Right? Research has been showing that having a supervisor that gives you support, having the type of leadership really influences whether teleworking works or not. Okay? Type of communication, and some research showing on that. But I think there needs to be more research on the mode of communication in terms of not only face-to-face meetings, but also we're gonna see on my tips to improve the type of social media people are using, right? The type of tools. Very few research on the type of tools, WhatsApps, Facebooks, Instagrams, you know, how are those things really actually helping us or not on working from home? And last but not least, the culture is very important. Very few studies looking at cross-cultural comparison. That's why I'm starting with a group of colleagues from Argentina, from Chile. I'm trying to get from America, and if anyone who is welcome would like to join, we're looking at what right now, teleworking, and with the idea of comparing across cultures, right? Because in 2011, I found teleworking is not effective for everyone. So it's a mode that was created in a country, and sometimes it doesn't work for other countries, okay? So this is what I wrote. I'm looking at the time here. So I wrote like kind of this model with all of the literature that we know so far. In blue is a model from Gajendran, the meta-analysis, right, on the square, the blues. And they said, you know, they found the remote working works to the outcomes mediated by perceived autonomy, work-life balance, relationships, okay? And those are the outcomes, but I think there's more opportunities here. I put in red what I felt that was less studied, and I think you need to study more, right? And this is the possible moderators. This is the moderators that it was in 2007. And I think in red, those are the possible moderators that that I think we need to study. I think there's some paper already mentioned gender that I would like to hear today, but this is some opportunities for research, and I'm gonna leave you, with that for those of you who are interested in doing research, okay? Okay, so let me talk about tips to overcome challenges, okay? Now that we mentioned, you know, all of this research. So for those of you working from home, right, there are several things we can do based on research on or best practice that company are doing, okay? Number one, separate personal and professional space. The problem with teleworking or working from home is that you have the personal space and the workspace together. So you have a physical boundary that is meshed, right? And you also have the emotional boundaries that is meshed. It doesn't look important, but it is important. I don't know if you have been experienced now that you're working from the COVID. It's very important that you start dressing up to work. And I remember when I started in 2004, I was young at IBM. I remember I would get out of bed and go to the meetings. I would get out of bed and just click with my pajamas, you know. It was the worst thing ever because my mindset was not. And I would do the same with my daughter when she was homeschooling. I'm like, no, you're not doing homework with pajamas. You're changing. Then I explained to her because when you feel with your pajamas, you have your mindset of sleepy, right? You just need to have a nice suit or whatever, just to feel comfortable, at least washed. So separate personal space and professional space. I know some people have this challenge. I've talked to some of my students which did presentations from beds, and we're like, okay, feedback, this is not a good thing. Well, I don't have too much space. Well, it's fine. So then sit down and have a little corner. This is my corner for work, right? We can kind of be creative on this aspect. So separate space from work. Manage work social media appropriately. I think this is where there is some research already and it needs more, is the fact that teleworkers are constantly on. We are constantly on, and this is very bad for your health and for your stress and work-life balance, for your family environment, right? You're constantly on, you're working from home, you have difficulty to disconnect. How many times have you read emails before you go into a meet? Works emails. Not a good thing. So I would recommend manage that appropriately in a way that you should delete. I do that. I turn off my WhatsApp before I go to bed, 2 hours before I go to bed, to have a transition. We're going to talk about transition roles here. The problem is that the turning off this WhatsApp, it's not as easy if you have a global business, and it's not as easy if a company already mixed the social media. Now, this is a real case. I found it on Facebook. One of my colleagues sent it. You know, are you, for instance, who is in your Facebook account? I think this is crazy. A woman actually forgot that her boss was on the Facebook, and she mentioned, she would start talking bad about the boss, mentioned she hates the job. Of course, she got fired on Facebook, right? I mean, this could be Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. I've had cases in my business school of students who the boss WhatsApp you at 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. How do you draw the line? So I think there's a lot of research. What I try to do in companies that sometimes you'll have to talk about those things, separate some of the apps, right? WhatsApp for business, WhatsApp, but this is so new and still doesn't happen. I'm curious to know if some people have experience on that. Okay, so if you're working from home, establish routines and work in blocks. I put 2 hours blocks, but it depends on your job. Huh? The great thing about teleworking is that you don't need to be sitting in your office desk from 9 to 5. I don't know, I remember when I used to work in a real environment, it's been a long time ago, one of the things that I couldn't stand is sitting and not having anything to do. Or when your brain's already too tired, you have to sit there and still be sitting in the office, right? The great thing in telework is that you work for 2 hours on, let's say, as a research on a paper, your brain starts getting tired, you do yoga for 15, 20 minutes, or meditate for 10, then go back to work, right? These transitions is what is actually useful. But of course, this can only happen if you have the autonomy to work from home or to choose your schedule, right? But routines are very good. Why do I put a picture of a baby here? Because working, doing class with me, because I would say, I'm going to work for 2 hours, you're going to do your homework for 2 hours or play for 2 hours, know the routine. Then I'll give you 20 minutes attention. Then I'll go back to work, right? So that's also a way for those of you who are having to battle of having children or mothers, elderly mothers, elderly fathers, or people in the workplace. No, I can work, give them attention a little bit to come back to work. Have you heard about the Zoom fatigue? I don't know if you have experienced that. Now we're constantly connected. I would say avoid back-to-back Zoom meetings. Very difficult, I know, for those of students who are saying, yeah, but all my classes are online. What do I do? You know, all the time connected. And then I watch TV later on, and then I'm on my computer. Well, I mean, I know it's difficult, but we try to avoid it in the world. In the real world, we say it's nice to kind of have different tasks. One of the things people are doing more and more are calling. I've been having a lot of meetings with the phone. People are preferring to call than to have the Zoom, because research shows that the Zoom has a stress. Why? Because we have the faces that we see, and they come with the delay. You have difficulty reading, interpreting your faces. So it becomes very stressful. Sometimes just a simple call takes care of the problem. So avoid Zoom scheduling. Establish transitions, okay? What is the transitions? The transitions has to do with when you move from one role to the other role, okay? So you have different roles in life. Your parent, your father, your mother, you are a son, right? You are a manager, you're a researcher, you're a professor. I don't know. Huh? Before remote working, or in a normal environment, let's say, you would wake up, take the train, go to work. Then from work, you would take the train, go back to your family environment. This is a transition. You have time to kind of disconnect and move from this role. Now, when you're remote working, you don't have this time. I finished this presentation. Imagine this presentation was horrible. I hate it, that's not the case, but imagine I have like something failed, the computers blew up, and I'm very, very stressed. After I finish this, my daughter walks in. What is the likelihood that I'm gonna actually kind of yell on her or just be annoyed and transfer all this moodiness to her? Very likely, very likely. So we call that work to family spillover, right? When you don't have the transition, those spillovers happens more often than when you have a transition. It can be positive, because if I have a positive mood, I actually transfer, oh, this is great. I go with my daughter or my cat or whatever and have this positive mood. But I recommend you to have a transition. So people actually schedule on your calendar 10 minutes of transition, where you just take some time, relax, meditate, do something, listen to music by yourself, then move to your other role. That's why I say before you go to sleep, you don't go from reading the email from work to going to bed. Because if you read some bad news, you're not going to sleep well, right? You need to have a transition from one role to the other. Okay, so very important, goal setting. Okay, if you want to know more about it, Locke and Layton, goal setting theory. In business, we call that SMART goals. If you want to work successfully from home, you need to learn how to set goals, right? Setting goals is not long-term goals. You have to set daily goals. Get up in the morning, what do you have to do? That's you managing your job. As a manager, you also need to set goals. And that's the biggest discussion I had with managers, small business owners who are afraid of implementing teleworking in the workplace. Some managers said, okay, but some jobs you can set goals. And I said, no, that's not true. You just don't know how to set goals, right? You set goals of, what are you going to do today? Well, today I'm going to learn everything about the software that I need to learn. So you can monitor, right? You can, later on, you can talk to your employee, how was the training, or what did you do to learn? So it's a behavior goal. It's a learning goal, right? There are things that you have to do every day, and there are tools. Actually, Google has a very nice tool of goal setting that people can implement in the organization. But if you're a small business, a simple Excel with their daily goals, and you can see what your employee is doing, and you can actually help your employee and yourself to manage better. So very important to do telework. You need to measure performance. And that's how you measure performance. You set goals. You set short-term goals with long-term goals. Research shows that setting short-term goals along with long-term goals lead to higher performance than setting long-term goals, right? When I say long-term goals, it's like monthly goals or 2 weeks goals. That's why I talk about daily goals here. Okay. Seventh, the isolation issue. This is the difficult part, especially in cultures like India or Latin America. I'm actually from Brazil. I'm not Spanish, but the Brazilians are even more culturally, they like group, they like family around. So I hear from a lot of my Indian students that you can feel isolated, especially if you're a young student. How do you make friends? How do you connect on the campus? You're missing out on all of those things. There are some apps. I know that you don't want to be connected the whole time, but there are companies who have been implementing teleworking. They usually do what is called virtual water coolers, because in the US, people meet around water coolers to talk, So they say, well, virtual water coolers, employees actually get together and meet to chat about anything, right? It's quite challenging because I have to say, people don't tend to schedule that. You're at home, you don't tend to schedule. But there's two apps, I put at the websites, they are Donut and Slack water cooler, that you actually include that in Slack. What they do is that they pair you up with random people in the company for random meetings. So they kind of give you a time for a coffee, and then they connect with you and you start talking about things that are not important. Because research actually shows that a lot of the creativity ideas happens in those informal meetings, right? But there is very interesting research on that. That's why I'm saying, I think this is an opportunity for research. Very interesting research showing that it depends on if you feel like it's imposed by a boss, that you have to talk to your friend and make friends. People, again, the autonomy, right? But if it's random, if it's a coincidence, maybe it's possible. But that's an idea. No, virtual water coolers, virtual coffees. End to end, last tip is know yourself. Okay. Like I said, you've seen the research showing that teleworking is not for everyone. So know the type of teleworking you want, the intensity. For some people who are more introverts and love the peace and quiet at home, you can be working 4 to 5 days a week. For those of you who don't, that might be a problem. So you have to choose the job accordingly. You have to negotiate with your supervisor how much time of teleworking do. I know that with COVID and with lockdowns, we can do that. So we are always sometimes forced to telework. But I'm thinking the future, when things normalize, I think everyone can use and take advantage of teleworking, but I think you need to know yourself. If it's a motivation issue, probably you have to stay working in the office. If it's an ability issue, then you just do some training. And I think you're going to take some advantage of that. Okay? So to conclude, this is some of the things I want to take from the sessions, right? We've talked about the challenges and opportunities before and during the pandemic. It's interesting the type of the teleworking actually does improve work-family conflict in some occasions, but in the pandemic, we're seeing that actually makes it worse, right? So here's when I talked about when does teleworking actually works, and there are several things that we have to take in consideration, right? And I went through these several things. And finally, individually for the employees, I gave you some tips to do it. This is something new, not new, teleworking since the 70s, but I think it's new in a sense that we're being forced to do telework. And it's new in a sense that it's widely used. There's a wide global interest in teleworking. And I'm very happy to see that there is some research coming from India, from other countries other than the US and the Western countries, that we can actually now understand a bit better if this mode of work has positive effects and when it has positive effects. So thank you very much for listening. I'm open for questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was indeed a very insightful presentation where it set a lot of cues for the researchers. So some of us for the students, and a lot of things we could really associate with, like being working at home. I'm sure for the parents, the challenges they are facing, the women, the men, everyone. So although it's become a new normal for everyone, but still we are learning, we are adjusting, and it's a mixed blend, both pros and cons. So to all the audiences, so if anyone has any questions, you may please put this to the host. We'll put this across to ma'am. So you may send your questions.
Yes, I don't see, is there...
We'll just shortly share it.
Wait, I stopped share, right?
Not yet, ma'am. I can still see your screen.
Okay, so here we go.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, yes. Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. Once again, I really literally this instigated a lot of questions, a lot of research topics which can come across, and we can obviously look for a collaborative research like you suggested about the cross-culture research. And okay,
yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to see. I'm very curious to hear from the papers. I saw the titles. I remember. A few years ago, I edited a book on work-life practice, and I remember hearing little about India. And today I'll think, wow, it's going to be interesting to hear what is their experience working from home. Even though it's a strange experience during COVID.
Definitely, ma'am. We'll look forward. So I don't think we haven't got of any of it, ma'am. So towards the end of the session, even if students and the audiences, if you have any questions, we can take them up in the even at the end of the session. Okay, so we have one, ma'am. We have one question. There's this question from one of our faculty members that, as it was mentioned in the presentation, that remote working depends on individual. And so does the monitoring. So how can this monitoring aspect be dealt with?
Okay, the monitoring of performance depends on both, on the individual and on the manager as well. So the individual aspect, and I think had to do with the goal setting that I mentioned to you. Right now, the only research that at least that I know so far is the personality. So we've seen research in terms of sociability, emotional stability. Those people who are social, they're not as well working from home. People who are self-disciplined. So that self-discipline is one aspect that is related to monitoring as well. But I think if you go really into the smaller detail, I think it has to do with goal setting. If your individual knows how to set goals, they're going to be more likely to follow up on these goals and perform well, right? Because goal setting really, it has so many positive aspects in motivation. And my paper as well shows that those who telework, they are more likely to progress toward the goals. So how do you monitor? You have to set your goals. You have to communicate these goals with the managers and with your team. And you have to do follow-up on those goals, yourself and the manager. I think to me, this is, if you're interested in doing research on that, there is a wide amount of possibilities. What type of goals people set and how does that influence teleworking effect on productivity? Now, the mixture of teleworking and personality. For instance, conscientiousness is a personality. It's a personality that already shows that the person who is conscientious set goals, but it's a personality. Now we want to know, can we train the people? Now, can we teach them? And I think to me, the idea would be through goals.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. We have another question, ma'am, from Dr. Desai. He says that teleworking is forced in COVID-19 times. Is it boring or enjoyable for most people? Like if there's any research on this aspect?
Well, the research that I did in Spain, because exactly that, we thought that people would be horrified about teleworking, right? And in fact, when we asked if they were enjoying their job, it was a high percent, I think it was 80% or more, said they actually enjoy their job while they're doing teleworking, okay? But the question is, do I like my job? And we're wondering, how come, Dr. Desai, we were asking the same thing, if you're forced, right? You're losing autonomy. So that's not the normal teleworking. And I know the experience that a lot of us are feeling is that I can't do it anymore. I wanted to go out, right? But I think the question we did is, do you like your job considering the crisis right now? The research in crisis says when you see around people who are losing the job, you end up being thankful for what you have. So maybe that's one explanation. So is it boring, enjoyable? Being from home, isolated, probably not, but I think there is a lot of positive things that people see of teleworking. Look at us. I mean, the Zoom, we wouldn't be able to be in this conference if it was not for the Zoom improvement. And in my teaching, I don't know how you guys are doing as academics, but this year I teach.
Yes, ma'am. Zoom and Google Meet, both we are.
Yes, Google Meet is definitely. So. I don't know if I answered the question.
No, definitely. So ma'am, if you can take one or more, or would you be are you comfortable taking one or more questions, or should we go to the presentation session?
I'm comfortable as long as you got I'm fine. As long as you have manage your time.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Sure. Parul, ma'am, please.
Hello, ma'am. Welcome to the session. First of all, we've spoken on.
Oh, I couldn't hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, so I'm just saying we've spoken to each other a couple of times on WhatsApp, but here we are looking at each other virtually. So I think this is what is the miracle of technology during this period. So I just wanted to ask you, Radha, I want you to advise the teachers some ways and methods to maybe engage the students for a longer duration in this setup. Of course, it is very easy for all of us also to, just blame the students that they just switch off their video, go offline, and they're just attending for the sake of it. But yes, hearts of hearts, we all know that there are some students who are just disconnected because they're not personally there with the teacher. So some students prefer being there personally. So how to engage those students who are just because it is not their type of learning, etc.?
That's a very good question. And one of the things we do at EADA, to be honest with you, we shorten our time. We used to have 4-hour classes for the MBA. Now we have 3 hours, which is longer. And our methodology was always very interactive. In fact, when you mentioned that I have a 40 minutes lecture, I already felt so long. I was like I was like, how long have I been talking here? I wonder if people just disconnected. We don't listen anymore for 45 minutes. I hope that you guys did, but it's very difficult. What I do, it's a lot of breakout rooms in Zoom. I do a lot of Zoom. Also has some interactive tools. There is an interactive tools. Have you heard of Menti? I'll WhatsApp. I think it's Menti. It's one that you actually do questions and you do. So there is a lot of interactive tools. So the more interactive you can, the better. Also, the smaller classrooms, the smaller groups are the best. For 100, 200 people, it's very easy to disconnect. So it's like working teams as well. We're doing that in management. You have to have smaller groups. I know it's an issue of management, right? Now you're not going to pay the professors to do, but what do you do? So you break down into small groups and you give them assignments and you go from one group to another, right? And you make sure that they're talking and they're interacting. No one can stay 1 hour listening to a computer at home. It's very difficult to engage. So interacting, hands-on, assignment, case methodology, that helps them to engage much more.
Truly, ma'am, truly.
Thank you, ma'am.
So a couple of more, ma'am. So I would request the Zoom management team. Avnish raised his hand. I haven't got the question from him. So if you could please unmute him, or Avnish, if you could send me your question across. Meanwhile, we have another question, ma'am, that how to stay motivated while working from home. Like both for the student to be motivated to be learning and for the teachers and rather for all the professionals also to be working who are at the work.
Yes, I think you should probably, I mean, one of the things is setting yourself goals, but also having these goals accountable to someone, right? It's like working out or motivating to work out or motivating to lose weight, motivating to stop smoking, right? You need to set goals and you have this accountability. You need to talk to people. So don't be isolated. The isolated is an issue from working from home. So if you just start, maybe, for instance, as a student, get together with one person to study, right? Or as a professor, get together with one of your colleagues to think about a course, how to improve a course better, to help, you know. So because it's different, especially in your culture, and I hope that I understand your culture more. It's like in the Brazilian culture, but I think it's even more. You guys like to be in groups. You like to socialize and interact. So becoming isolated is an issue. So if you collaborate with more people, set goals and say with them, wait, this week, let's do a new lecture or let's write a paper together, right? I love writing papers in teams. They force you, hey, deadline, we're gonna meet Tuesday, right? Tuesday, you have to finish writing the literature review. Now that's the goal. Okay, Wednesday, you have to do the analysis. I'll meet you on Wednesday and I wanna see those analysis. So working in teams really helps you to motivate and then setting goals. At least this is what I try to do. And remember, don't use the pajamas when you're working from home.
That's a very, very rightly said, ma'am. Like actually it should be one of the takeaways, you know, that we always fall for this incentive to be in that comfort place while working from home. So one last question I would like to take up, ma'am, that it was mentioned during the presentation that teleworking can affect the career progression. So can it also be a negative factor?
No, that's what I'm saying. It can negatively affect career progression. The research shows that actually people who telework, just the recent paper in 2009, that they actually receive lower salary. So yes, be careful because, and that's the worry is that out of sight, out of mind, right? And in some cultures, more hierarchical cultures, even more important. So how do you overcome that? That's need for research, but also I think you need to be visible, and maybe social media can help. Instagram, LinkedIn, visibility of, for instance, if you're a researcher and you're publishing, like I've been working from home, but I'm very visible publishing in the period, the newspapers in Spain. So people know that I'm actually doing something. So visibility, right? She's not there. But in fact, before the COVID, I felt the need to come at least twice a week as an academic to kind of just to show up. And it really is a lot of time, because I would rather just be doing my research at home, but I would show up, I would talk to people, I would talk to my boss. So that's why the intensity is very important. Huh? You shouldn't disappear from your colleagues. You need to manage this visibility a bit more.
Definitely, ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am. I hope you're comfortable continuing, ma'am, or would you like to have okay. This was a very insightful presentation from ma'am. So I hope all of us have got some very good takeaways, some good lessons from the same. So to all the, so now we would be beginning with the technical session, ma'am. So Professor Aline would be the external session chair for the paper presentation session, and Dr. Seema ma'am would be the internal session chair. So I would request all the paper presenters to be kindly paying the attention to. So I would be just shortly sharing with you all the guidelines which we would be following for the paper presentation. So let me share the screen with you all. So I would be requesting the Zoom management team to kindly make the paper presenters the co-host as in when they are presenting their papers, so to allow them to share their screen. So is my screen visible? If anyone can, Parul ma'am, if you could please. Okay, thank you.
Yes,
so this is what we would be following the track schedule. So we'll be having 5 paper presentations. One of the presenters could not be present, and the papers would be evaluated on these 5 parameters: objectives and research design, conclusion and recommendation, the query handling, adherence to time, uniqueness and originality of the idea, presentation skills, and that would be totaling up to 50 marks for the external session chair, and similarly the 50 marks would be there for the internal session chair. I believe that, ma'am, both of you, Professor Aline and Seema ma'am, you would have the rights as shared by the conference team with you for editing those rights to this Google Sheet. I hope it's, I would again otherwise share the same with you, ma'am.
Yes, Shana, just to interrupt you, I'm sorry. I've just given the editing rights to Dr. Aline and Dr. Seema.
Okay.
So please check if you can edit it once. Just see if you can put some value in it.
Yes, hold on.
You're able to put some value. Seema ma'am, what about you?
Oh, I cannot. Hold on, let me highlight, let me refresh.
Yeah.
Let me see now. Now I can. Okay. I can.
Seema ma'am, you're on mute.
Seema
ma'am the co-host.
Yes.
I was not able to unmute. I was checking, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah, ma'am, just refresh it once.
Okay, I'll just do that.
So I would request the presenters to be ready with their presentations. I'll be shortly announcing the names by who will be presenting it. Are we good to go? Good to go along, Seema ma'am?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So as conveyed by the conference team, every presenter would be given 15 minutes for the presentations, followed by a question, followed by the question and answers round. So I would request our first presenter, Ms. Neha Seni ma'am, to share her presentation. I would request the Zoom management team to make her as the co-host so that she could share her screen for the presentation. And the title of her paper is Work at Home, a New Normal with More Employee Productivity and Job Satisfaction. So over to you, Neha ma'am. If you could please switch on your video also, ma'am.
Am I audible to you, ma'am?
Yeah, you're very much audible, ma'am, but we cannot see you.
Ma'am, actually my video is not working right now. Earlier it was working, but I don't know what happened.
You may rejoin, ma'am, or either you may switch it off and then switch it on again. That should help.
Yeah, sure.
Meanwhile, the first presentation is going on. I would request the following up presentation by Anand Bhavit sir to kindly check the audio video requirements at the end before the presentation begins. So as we are transiting, I would request the Zoom management team to let us have a glimpse of the presentation video if we can have till Neha ma'am resorts her. Thank you so much, Shuchi ma'am. Neha ma'am, if you could resolve it now. I cannot see her. Ma'am, maybe move to the second presentation meanwhile.
I think that will be better, ma'am.
Yes,
Neha
yes.
ma'am, I think she has left.
Uh,
She might be joining back.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So Anand, I would request you to be sharing your presentation. I would request the Zoom management team to make him the co-host. So we are moving to the second presenter, ma'am, to both the session chairs because the first presenter had some technical issues. So if you could please switch on your video also, Anand.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you're very much audible as well as visible, Anand. So you may share your screen and start with your presentation.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, Khushi, you're very much audible.
Okay.
Is the screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, it is visible, Anand, but I cannot. Yeah, now it's all good to go.
Can we start?
You may put it on the full screen, on the slideshow mode, Anand.
Yeah.
All the best, Anand and Kushi.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you, ma'am. Just a minute, ma'am.
Shanu ma'am, sorry to interrupt, but who will be noting the time? Should I note?
No, I will have the Zoom. Bhupen sir, if you could please help us for that. I'll be doing.
I will note it down. Okay.
Yes, yes. Even I'll keep a track of it, Seema ma'am. So you please be comfortable. We'll manage for that.
Okay, thank you.
Shall we start, ma'am?
Yes, please, Khushi. Go ahead.
A very good afternoon, one and all present here. I am Khushi Bora along with Anand Saad. We are students of DME Management School and we are going to present our research paper on the topic Impact of Remote Working on Mental Health. So the topic is quite relevant in the times of crisis where isolation is causing so much of stress and distress. So we have tried addressing how remote working is affecting employees' wellness and how in turn it is also affecting their capacity to work. Next slide, please. So today in our presentation, we will be taking you through our research paper's introduction, its objectives, research methodology, data analysis, and finally our recommendation on the topic, followed by a conclusion. So without any further ado, I would like Anand to enlighten us with the introduction on the matter.
Thank you, Khushi. Yeah. So remote working, also known as virtual working or telecommuting, it means that no more enormous commute to work. We can work from home and we don't have to commute to the workplace. The ever-evolving technologies have compelled the work from home jobs into motion way before COVID-19 came into existence. But to avail the benefits of remote working, one should be provided with a technology like internet devices, services, and proper technology, and of course, a good work schedule to which he or she can actually stick to. Work and mental health are basically linked together. Working professionals believe that remote working comes with a lot of benefits as well as the pandemic situation has brought new obstacles and acted as a reality check for the people who believed that remote working has endless benefits and no side effects. Remote working is new for many, and henceforth, anxiety, stress, and strain physically, mentally, and financially has started bothering people normally these days. Now, moving to the next slide, objectives of the study. So our objective of this research paper is to understand the reasons that make work from home a better mode of working, along with analyzing the impact of remote working on people's mental health and to study the productivity level of the workforce. We have collected primary data through a structured questionnaire, and that questionnaires were prepared using Google Forms and was circulated all over through electronic media. 102 valid questionnaires were collected both by male and female respondents to empirically test the research. The respondents were contacted over different social media platforms. The questionnaire contained some demographic questions which were asking for participants' age, gender, and occupation. The questions were also asked related to telecommuting. The participants which we have in the questionnaire basically belong to the categories of students, working professionals, businessmen, along with postgraduates and professional degree holders. So now that's me at the end of the talk for the time being, and would now like Khushi to take over so that she can briefly explain the practical implications and limitations of the analysis.
So for the data analysis, we conducted a survey through Google Forms. These figures depict the responses of our survey. So here are a few things about the analysis. Most of our respondents were female, and occupation wise most of them were students. Then we had work professionals, then business owners, and the rest were non-working. Here figure 3 represents work from home preference of the respondents. Many of them were unsure whether they liked remote working or not, and the majority of the rest were not in favor of remote working. And the figure 4 shows benefits of remote working, wherein majority of the respondents have agreed upon the option saves time and money, followed by other benefits. And the next slide, please. Then figure 5 tells us about the impact of remote working, whether it has improved, worsened, or did not affect them in any way at all. Then we ask them to choose their ways to overcome stress and what are the factors they think affect human health. Then we ask them about their productivity levels at different workplaces. Further, we made them choose the advantages and disadvantages of remote working. Next slide. So now further we made them choose between the advantages and disadvantages of remote working, and finally they were asked to rate their level of satisfaction regarding remote working on a scale of 1 to 10. So after looking at the unsatisfied responses given by some respondents, suggestions, we also took their suggestions which they expected their organization to provide them with and how they may improve. So different responses were recorded for the same. Now, Anand will tell you about what is our take on the topic.
Thank you, Khushi. So now, according to us, isolation, anxiety, depression, and loneliness are all harmful for our health. Remote workers need to be mindful about creating a great work-life environment. Like in an office environment, the environment dictates your schedule. Example, like you have to work from 9 to 5, and then you have to go home at a particular time and then spend some time with your families. So in this type of environment, there's some freedom, but also there is a need to create some awful schedules and routines. If it's a person's first time working remotely, we would totally recommend taking a deep dive and designing the work life so it follows a healthy routine to it. So at last, coming to the conclusion of the topic, remote working is more preferable due to its underlying benefits. People enjoy flexible working option and basically consider this mode of working as a good option. But the negative impact of virtual working is disguised and often gets unnoticed by them. Absence of working discipline can also be seen in the workers. The working environment affects the mental health, productivity, work efficiency, and many other things. So, following a time schedule or working in a designated space for work can help in maintaining the work efficiency. In between breaks are also important so that our mind gets some amount of rest while we are working. And the most important task while working is making a pre-planned work schedule so that it becomes easier to work and manage the things accordingly. Thank you. That's all from our side.
Thank you, Anand. So I would request, so that was your presentation was very much well in time. Professor Aline and Seema ma'am, if you have any questions.
Yeah, I was just curious, how many, what was the bigger, the size of the data, the sample?
Sorry, ma'am.
How many employees were you able to sample?
We were able to reach around 100 people.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
And you, in all of them, and I know it was there, but I couldn't see the percentage of people who had mental problems, like was it measured based on stress?
Yeah, I can show you that slide again.
So it was measured by, okay, it was stress,
Yeah.
right? Very interesting. Okay. So why do you think they were experiencing that much of stress? I'm just curious. What was one of the things that was it because of the isolation?
Yeah, mostly because of isolation, and there was while working from home, there is lack of motivation, and we are not able to work in a team.
Okay, so isolation was the main issue.
Yeah.
Because the age of this group mainly they're younger okay, so that it might have an impact, but that's interesting to know that isolation is it goes along with the results that I presented from a China sample. So it's very nice. Well, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So Anand, I think you included not only working professionals, some students also.
Yes,
As
ma'am.
you said. So have you bifurcated the results in between?
Yes, ma'am.
So I mean, like some clarity that what was the impact of what was the factor impacting the stress of students, and what was the factor impacting the stress of employees, or was it similar? That kind of clarity was.
Ma'am, all
I
the
couldn't locate
factors
it.
that affected whether students or working professionals were same.
Okay, so both the people felt that isolation was the only factor you were saying.
Yes, ma'am. And staying at a one place and working at there only, and like if we go to office and work, then we commute also, and we talk to colleagues also, and there is a lot of interaction also.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a general question for the Indian culture? How are your home setups? I hear that compared to like my experience working in New York, it's just one person or two, coffee shops are very quiet, and most people in New York work from coffee shops. But when you talk about social isolation, are you working, because I hear from my Indian colleagues that oftentimes you live with families. So is it still the case, and how is that with the social isolation?
It is same, ma'am, that we are there at times we are in a joint family setup also, and less of space. Then it becomes a very difficult scenario, wherein all the kids have separate classes. Then the couples have offices, and then the adults are there. So how do we manage the whole scenario? Then it becomes very difficult.
Okay, so that's why I'm asking, because the isolation, the data shows here isolation is an issue, and I'm thinking, with the Indian culture, living with so many people, I didn't think isolation was an issue, but maybe as a student, right?
No. When we meet our own sorry, Anand. When we meet our own colleagues, the scenario is entirely different.
Okay, so it's a different type of interaction. You might feel isolated with your family, but it's the need of socializing with other people. I understand.
It does so happen, like, yeah, sorry to interrupt, like, it's just like, may I continue, Simama?
Yeah,
it was just like, because since we are just talking, so yesterday only in the inaugural session, the guest spoke that like we have 3 people in a family sitting in 3 separate rooms with all 3 glued to their laptops, like husband having his office work, the women attending the female work, and the children attending their classes. So probably somehow that is also, that distance is, that line of difference is going blurred.
That's a very good point, and I think if you take a photo of your culture now compared to your culture in the past, we are all addicted to technology. I mean, we were before, and after this COVID, we can get away from it. So that's why one of the things I mentioned about really putting some rules of when and how to use technology is very important for not feeling isolated when you're in your own home with people around, because that's a good example.
Ma'am, you rightly put up 2 points. 2 takeaways from me were make smart goals, and then have a to-do list wherein you have to difference between your personal time and your professional time. So I think that is missing
Yeah,
somewhere in, us.
yes, and you are, sorry, because I can see who is speaking, as I keep moving. Okay,
It's
Washima.
Dr. Seema.
Yeah, and yes, that's a good point. And I think goal setting can be taken for personal aspect too. Not only I have to work, but we have to eat dinner and talk as a family. You know, me, my
Right.
husband, my kids, let's turn off the device. And this is the time because with all the pressure and the stress, you can feel isolated being around people, which is not a nice thing. And social support has been shown to really overcome stress, which is highlighted in this presentation. So you need more than ever. And that research from the China sample, that's one of the things they found. People who were self-disciplined, they didn't feel isolated because they were
Right.
probably able to organize their schedule and find personal time as well to connect with your family members.
Correct, correct.
Thank you, it was very interesting.
Can I stop presenting, ma'am?
Yes, Anand, please do so. Any more questions, Alan, ma'am, and Seema, ma'am?
No, it's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand and Khushi. Then we have the next, I got a message from Neha ma'am that the technical error has been resolved. So I would request Neha ma'am to begin her presentation, and the title of her paper again, Work at Home, A New Normal with More Employee Productivity and Job Satisfaction. So over to you, Neha ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Good afternoon to all the participants of GMSC 2020. Hello. Can
Yes,
you
ma'am.
listen to me?
Yes. You're very much audible, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Am I able to share my screen?
I would request the Zoom management team if we could check that has ma'am been made the co-host.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am is the co-host.
Yes, you would now be able to share it, Neha ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, it's very much visible, ma'am.
First of all, I would like to apologize on my part. Hello.
No, please, ma'am. No, not an issue.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to all the participants of JMSC 2020. Myself, Neha Seni, and today I'm going to present my work on Work at Home, a new normal with more employee productivity and job satisfaction. Okay. Now, first of all, I would like to thank Delhi Metropolitan Education, which has given me an opportunity to participate in this interesting conference and which will be very helpful in the coming times. So, as we all know that this pandemic has forced the companies to switch off to the remote working very quickly. This seems at first sight to be very quite successful, but with the passage of time, there are so many work stress pressures on the employees. It has affected every person, whether young, old, and couple with children or with no children. This concept of work from home has deep and everlasting effect on the employees' attitude, behavior, as well as on the organizational effectiveness, because alternative working pattern will help in reducing commuter traffic as it will save the time. Moreover, the need of the hour is the social distancing, which helps in which the remote working helps a lot. And now uh, in my study, I would an attempt has been made to study the work from home issues in detail, which will help in knowing the how to balance the work from home with other aspects of like handling the children, the household work, the other responsibilities which people are having. Work from home is a very vital issue for everyone. Now we can now I'm going to share my objectives.
Sorry to interrupt you, Neha ma'am. If you could please put it on the slideshow, this would give us a better view of the scene.
Okay, ma'am, just give me a minute.
You may continue, ma'am, please.
Thank you so much. Objectives. the first objective of this study is to determine the skill areas needed by the employees who are working from home to enhance and maintaining their overall satisfaction, as well as the employee productivity, because we all know when we are working from home there are so many more difficulties which we are going to face along with our office work. So there is a problem of job security also in this pandemic. As we can say, when we are working from home, we are lacking the sense of belongingness, and there is a lack of in visibility. There is a trust issues between supervisors also, because they cannot rely on the work employees. As they are working from the home, they cannot watch them directly whether they are working or not. So there is a lot of problems which the employee have to suffer. With the help of this technology, we can say a lot of problems has been sorted, but not properly. As you can see in my case, the technicality error was there. I was not able to do properly. So there are so many things which we have to face along with this situation. And the another objective is to analyze the impact of the work from home on personal and professional life of the employees. As we know, most of the employees are married or unmarried. Unmarried people are also having some problems with their situations, and married people are also, as the children, household work, other responsibility, elderly people's responsibility on themselves. Coping the situation is very hard for the people to work from home, but as we can say, it helps a lot of people to save their jobs. Work from home has saved jobs of so many people. Otherwise it will be not possible for people to do the work from home in some cases. But with technology, we can say it has saved a lot. um, uh, for this study, we have taken an online pilot survey of 128 employees from different sectors. Likely information technology, we have chosen this sector as this sector is already working in this parameter of work from home. Insurance, academic institution are now totally uh, uh, totally giving their study material or everything on the Zoom network, you can say, or something else. BPO sectors also. The viable IT and insurance institutions were contacted, and their managers are asked to please ask their employees to participate in this research. A researcher investigated about the data. The data is related to the productivity, work-related stress. As we all know, there are a lot of work-related stress, job satisfaction. There is a lack of job satisfaction by doing the work from home. As we can say, by doing, there is no chit-chat. First of all, there is no chit-chat, and people are not able to express their views to their colleagues. There are a lot of things which we can sort it by just discussing their views with the colleagues or with their bosses. So there is a lack of sense of belongingness. And we can say statistical measures like mean, standard deviation, correlation, regressions are used. And the question included the factors like um, time planning skills, as time planning is very important in every aspect. Supervisor support and trust, as I already discussed, there is a lack of supervisor trust and support, as no they cannot watch us directly. So uh, there is a issues in trust issues between them. Possibility to work during the most productivity hours, as people are having different times for work. Some people are comfortable in the morning time, some are in the evening time. So it helps the people to do the work according to their situation or according to their autonomy. People to take possibility to take care of our children. Many people are having complaint they're not able to take care of their children on children. But now with the help of this remote working hours, people are able to help take care of take care of their children also. Suitability of the working place at home, it is very important to have a space in the home so that they can work very efficiently and productive, by which the productivity will increase. So as Seema ma'am has said, that we are living in the families, joint families, so there is a lack of space, so we have to manage all these things. Possibility to save on travel expenses in a bigger cities like Mumbai and Delhi. The commuting time is so much large that people spend 2 to 3 hours in just commuting from one place to another. It will help the people in saving their time and focus on the work more properly, and give time to their family members also. Gender uh, as we can say, men and women both are the bread earners nowadays, but some responsibility, but both have different responsibilities. Women have to manage the household, take care of the children. Men have another responsibilities. So it will help both to manage the things accordingly. Social distancing is one of the main aspect nowadays. uh, uh, Work from home has helped in maintaining the social distancing. So when people are working from home, there is a less contact between themselves, which will help in reducing the coronavirus, which is the pandemic, which has forced all of us to do work from home. uh, and the another four aspects which we will study are work from home, job security, deemed advantages from the work from home, and increased productivity. Data analysis. From the data analysis, we can say the different we did the data analysis through the correlation and regression, and we can say that the uh, 7 out of 10 work from home factors, which I have mentioned earlier, are related with the overall satisfaction. 9 out of 10 are related with the deemed advantages, and 6 out of 10 are related with the job security, and 8 out of 10 are related with the productivity. Uh, uh, and the and we can say at last, the independent variables of research and explained the significant part of the various on work from home outcomes, that is overall satisfaction with work from home, deemed advantages of work from home, job security, and increased productivity. The deemed advantages of work from home were predicted by decreased time for communication with co-workers, suitability of the working place at home, and the possibility to work during the most productive hours. And my recommendations for this are this: build a permanent workspace so that you can stick to you can feel that you are working in an office by sticking to a permanent workspace in your house. By changing the place, you cannot create that aura of work. You cannot create that is useful in creating a work mind. So it's very important to create a permanent workspace. Invest in quality technology. Quality has played a very technology has played a very important role in this pandemic, as it is the only thing on which we can rely for doing our work. By investing in the good Wi-Fi connection or something, we can achieve our targets on time, or set real work hours. It's not just like that we set the time from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening. We need to set the real working hours in which we are very much productive. We are able to contribute towards our organization. We are able to achieve our goals. Real work hours plays a very important role. Discover high productivity hours, as I discussed it earlier. uh, d- uh, uh, and update your to-do list every morning. As Ellen ma'am has said, that we must set our goals on daily basis, not on the 3 to 4 months basis, but on the daily basis. Every morning we came up with a new agenda which we are supposed to achieve, and set multiple alarms. Multiple alarms will help in reminding us of our goals, whether we have achieved our targets on timely basis or not. Exercise and stretch regularly. Exercise is very important. It helps in meditation. uh, uh, Meditation will help us in giving the relaxation. It will reduce our stress level, and boost our energy. uh, and eat healthy and meals and snacks. Eating healthy will help in getting the good, you can say good thought, you can say good thoughts will come by eating the good foods, as it is written in our Vedas or Upanishads. So we are always focus on eating the good food and clean food. That is very important for a healthy mind. Create a reward system. You have to create a reward system for yourself on daily basis, whether I'll get this reward for myself when I'll achieve this thing in my life. It will help a lot, because in our childhood days we do the same when our parents would like to do, when we will get good marks they will give us cycle or something like this. Same with us, we have to create the reward system for ourselves on daily basis. Use time management apps. As we can say, time management is very important, and there's a lot of apps available on the internet uh, uh, for managing our time. They help us in boosting our morale or telling us which time is better to do this or that. And check in with co-workers frequently. As Aline ma'am has also said, we have to take the virtual breaks with our colleagues, so that we can share our experiences daily, day-to-day chit chats with them. The virtual water coolers, like virtual water coolers and all. And create a vision board. Everybody has a vision, so we need to create a vision board for ourselves, so that we can achieve our goals or targets on time. And on the conclusion basis, we can say that it helps us a lot, but for older people it is not so good that they are working from home, as they are not used to it. But for the young generation, they are very happy with this. They can achieve their other goals by working from home. It is as women have to do a lot of work, household work, along with the professional work. As they're going to office, they're not they are just free from the household side. When we are staying in the home, we are also considering our household work together with this professional work. So but women are also happy with this, as they have to as they have as their satisfaction level is increased by we can say that they are taking care of their family, which in India we can say it is a very important thing. We give so much priority to taking care of our family, so it has increased their satisfaction level also. And for men also, we can say they have also the productivity level of men has also increased, as it helps in decrease their commuting time from one place to another, so they can focus with the with this they can focus on other things of their life also. Thank you so much for this presentation, and please feel free to ask any query.
Thank you, Neha ma'am. So
Thank you,
I would
ma'am.
request Aline ma'am and Seema ma'am to please ask their questions to Neha ma'am.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. It looks like you collected a lot of data. I was looking at it. I have a question. In your last slide, you mentioned something about differences in gender, that women had different outcomes, but at the same time they were more satisfied.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Could
you explain a little bit?
Yes, ma'am, sure. Ma'am, as in India, we can say women have more and more responsibilities. And just take as I'm taking my case, as I'm working from home, but with this, I have to do my household work along with the professional work. But I'm giving time to my son, giving time to my in-laws, giving time to my husband. As it gives me an inner satisfaction that I'm doing professional work along with my household work. That helped in increasing the level of satisfaction to the women. That's it, ma'am.
Okay, so they actually had more satisfaction.
Yes, ma'am. Inner satisfaction, they are getting inner satisfaction by helping the family members, or spending the time with their children.
Did you measure as well stress or any other aspects?
Yes, ma'am. Stress. I'll show you this slide.
And did you find any differences in gender and stress?
No, ma'am. Actually, male are more satisfied with the work from home, as they are not commuting for 2 to 4 hours from one place to
So
another, and they're happy with that. They can watch Netflix in their leisure time. They can watch anything
that's
they want. They can do gym.
Yeah, you know, this is good. I asked that because Facebook, the CFO, Sheryl Stenberg, she has an organization called Lean In, and apparently they had the same type of research inside Facebook, and they found that women, in fact, in the US, had more stress right now because because exactly what you're saying, because they actually had to take care of the house and do all of that stuff more than the guys. But for them, it was more stressful. For your data, it's almost like, oh, it's a positive thing, you know?
Yes.
So that's actually an interesting way to
Thank
think.
you,
Okay, it's a positive thing that you are spending more time with your family besides working.
Yes.
Okay, that's
As it's in our culture to family is the priority for everyone. So
yeah, in the US culture is more work. I mean, not that family is not, but work is a very central to the identity.
Yes, ma'am.
So interesting to know that it's a positive spin in the gender aspect.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I don't have any more questions.
Neha ma'am, I just want to know, you have written about mentioned about older people. Have you made any bifurcation regarding the age?
No, ma'am. Older people, in the sense, those not properly the bifurcation, like more modern means young people, those who are in IT or something, and the older people, those who are in the traditional workforce. As I have the traditional, those who are working traditionally, those who are more than 40 years of age are taken as, because they are doing their work from so much of the time on the ongoing basis, like they are not working from the home, and they are not very much updated with the technology, this is the reason
So have you mentioned it somewhere, like not in this PPT, anywhere, like in your paper? Have you mentioned about, I just am wanting to give you a thought that just bifurcate the older and the younger generation age wise. Have you mentioned it in the paper somewhere?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Age is mentioned in my paper. That is mentioned in the appendix. I have given the table 1 and table 2. That is mentioned in the tables.
So above 40, you're saying, or
Yes,
you are bifurcated old?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Neha ma'am, for this
Thank you so
presentation.
much, ma'am.
I just have a small request to Aline ma'am. If this Google sheet, it's being, I believe that it's being editing and everything is being done and managed at your end, because like this Google sheet, which the editing rights of which have been shared by the conference team.
You're supposed to be doing automatically right now?
Maybe like ma'am, as in when you feel comfortable, like.
Yeah, I would prefer like once I finish the session, I'll give you the grades. I'm taking some notes.
Oh, okay, fine, perfectly fine.
Yes,
That's absolutely not a problem, ma'am. So Neha ma'am, I would request you to please kindly stop share your screen so that we can have the next presentation. Okay, so continuing with this paper presentations, very insightful ones coming up. So we have the next presentation from Dr. Isha Jaswal, and the co-author is Dr. Shuchi Goyal. The title of the paper is Remote Working or No Work, an Examination of Working Women's Situation in the Midst of COVID-19. So I would request Professor Dr. Shuchi Goyal to kindly share her screen.
I hope the screen, my PPT is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it's very much visible.
Afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Shuchi. I have written this paper along with my first author, Dr. Isha. So this is the title of my paper, Remote Working or No Work, an Examination of Working Women's Situation in the Midst of COVID-19. So this is the structure of my paper. I'll be first introducing my topic, then I'll move on to my objective, research methodology. Finally, I'll discuss the main objective, and lastly, I'll conclude. Okay, so During the recessionary period, it is generally observed that certain businesses are not only immune to those recessionary pressures, but in fact, they even boom during those time periods of business cycles. For example, one such situation was found in case of hairdressers in US who actually rose in number during the 2007 to 9 financial crisis. However, such situation was not found in case of COVID-19 led pandemic. Owing to the economy-wide lockdown, we witnessed in fact the opposite situation whereby salons and hairdressers struggled to even sustain themselves. So our way of thinking, our way of working in the professional world has changed due to COVID-19. Now more number of people are found to be working from home as compared to the pre-COVID-19 times. Rather, people are now more flexible to choose their location of work and manage their time more effectively. And at the same time, it will also reduce the burden on our infrastructure like roads. In fact, according to a survey that was conducted by Deloitte, it was found that people are either as efficient as they were before, or rather they were even more efficient during work from home. So, but however, despite the advantages, remote working has its own share of challenges as well. One of them it relates to the lack of personal interaction with the colleagues and mental well-being. Also, a lot of distractions due to family or kids, lack of designated workspace at home, which further creates problems of distraction. Now, amidst all this, women have been found to particularly bear more burden of this lockdown and the economic disorder. According to the unemployment surveys conducted in India as well as US, the female job loss rates stood at 5.7% globally as compared to 3.1% for males. So in light of this data and facts, the study aims at reviewing how the current crisis has impacted the working women. This will also include a discussion on the impact of remote working on the working women as well. This objective has been studied using descriptive methodology by intensively reviewing the authentic secondary data. Now, according to a report by McKinsey, job losses due to COVID-19 pandemic were higher amongst females as compared to males by 1.8%. Now, this is because the occupations in which the females are found to be more employed are more customer interaction based jobs like accommodation and food services, education, retail, trade and manufacturing, etc. So these are all female dominated occupations, and these have been found to be hit more hard or harder as compared to the male dominated occupations. So here we can have a look at the occupations that are dominated by females and that have been impacted more by COVID-19 pandemic as compared to the occupations that were dominated or that are dominated more by males. We can have a look here on the y-axis. We have a female share of employment 2019 data, and on the x we have share of jobs impacted between 2019-2020. So we can see as we move up the y-axis, we have the female dominated occupations like accommodation, food services, education, etc. that have been found to be hit harder as compared to the male dominated jobs. Moving ahead, in case of America particularly, women accounted for nearly 55% of job losses in the month of April 2020, despite the fact that their share in the total workforce was less than 50%. Now, the reason behind this is that, like I said, females are found to be engaged more in customer interaction based jobs. Hence, females have been severely hit in terms of job losses. Further, in European countries also, we have found that women are employed in those jobs that involve interaction with the customers or the stakeholders. Women have either lost their jobs in Britain or they have been sent on leave without pay. The reason was that not only they were engaged in customer interaction based jobs, but this was also due to reasons like discrimination and childcare. Also, the current pandemic has increased the non-paid family care and responsibilities in a in a skewed manner. For example, in case of India, this non-paid family care and responsibilities has risen by 30%. Now, power of parity research conducted by McKinsey, they reported that the proportion of females who were engaged in non-paid family responsibilities, that has a high and in fact a negative correlation with the labor force participation rate of women. Then according to an Institute of Fiscal Studies, lockdown has in fact imposed a lot of pressure on the time of the parents, and thus it has resulted in fewer working hours or in fact job losses altogether. This study reveals that mothers, in comparison to the fathers, are 1.5 times more prone to either losing their jobs or quitting their jobs since the start of the lockdown. And if not this, then the working mothers were found to be more likely to take leave without pay as compared to their counterparts. Then, apart from this, we have also seen an increase in work from home for women as compared to men. Jobs for Her, which is an Indian online career platform for women, they reported a hike in work from home jobs for women by 30% in March 2020. And it observed that women were applying for jobs of content writers, journalists, QA testing, telecallers, etc. However, the probability of Indian women of being employed is 9.5 percentage points lower than their male counterparts as compared to the pre-pandemic or pre-COVID time period, simply because their time spent in doing their domestic work has increased due to the lockdown. Indian women who are employed in the corporate sector, they are either downsizing their jobs or they are altogether quitting their jobs due to the challenges posed by the pandemic. Now, to conclude my presentation, 2 points are worth noting. First is that the scope of remote working opportunities in sectors that are dominated by females like leisure, hospitality, retail, etc., they are in fact shallow. For example, women accrue major share of their workforce in the tourism industry globally, and that too they are mainly clustered in the low skilled related work profiles. Second point to note is, with the increase in the unpaid care resulting from the current pandemic, working women might face the consequences like proceeding on leave without pay or sabbatical or quitting their jobs altogether, even when remote working possibilities exist. Therefore, a recommendation is that we must make a conscious effort to create feasible job opportunities for women. And one such effort had been made by Amazon recently when it launched a women virtual customer service site in Bangalore, India, particularly to reach out to women who were preferring work from home with flexi hours, or the ones who were resuming their career given their personal or family commitments. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shuchi ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Goel, for this lovely presentation. So over to you, Aline and Seema ma'am, for your questions.
Thank you very much. It's a very interesting and alarming results from the literature review. I was aware, that's why I was surprised with the previous presenter when said that actually women were more satisfied while working. And now listen to your data, I wonder, well, I ask, what is your opinion when you're hearing the first paper? I know women are getting really hit during this crisis. They don't have too much opportunity to work and they are happier. Did you find anything in your literature review of that? And do you have any thoughts on this matter?
Ma'am, I actually agree with the data that I've presented, that since there has been a burgeoning increase, you can say skewness in the against the women in terms of unpaid family care. So I do agree, looking around me, that women have in fact been hit harder as compared to men, in fact working women, because they have to manage their household chores along with their jobs, and that has found to be true. I agree with the facts that have been reported by McKinsey.
Yes, it's also interesting. I think people are for having this difficult situation. It would be very interesting in future research to examine the people, the women who are working. How are they doing? If they're doing better productively, to kind of motivate companies to hire more women in the workplace. Do you have any suggestions to overcome this situation in general for companies? Based on
Ma'am, I
research?
have the suggestion of the flexi hours that most of the companies are implementing, like to accommodate them work from home. We have already seen, we can even in fact provide them flexi hours, like not the typical 9 to 5 kind of a job. They can work in shifts, or we can make them on an alternative basis, like in shifts. So to be more considerate that they do have their families now to look after them, their work has in fact increased. So that would be my suggestion of flexi hours for women.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest challenges, what you mentioned, that women are usually work in positions that you can really work from home.
Yes.
So there's a big challenge that we have now, that it's a training challenge, or is a career help for women who are in positions that are customer services, to start getting back into, like you said, you even showed, positions that you can work more from home, writing, but that requires some training. You can change professions quickly.
Yes, I agree. You need to be trained if you want to switch your jobs, and that is also a challenge. Although it presents an opportunity, also it is a challenge at the same time for the employers and for the employees as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was very interesting.
Thank you, Suchi ma'am. It was very interesting, and as Alan ma'am said, very insightful. And ma'am, we ourselves have seen it when we were evaluating assignments for our own students, that after my daughter slept, she's 8 years, I used to start evaluating the assignments. So till 2 o'clock in the night or 3 o'clock in the night, I myself have done all that. So if there is no target, flexi hours, as Suchi ma'am is rightly saying, and also apart from that, if it is not target based, that what did you do for the whole day, being soft on from the employer's point of view, I think we can excellent results can be provided by female staff, but at the same time this consideration ought to be there from the employer side.
Yes, I think it's an important point, Seema. The challenge is that not every jobs allow us to just do that, to just, like I said, grading. And that's why I chose an academic job, because I know it helps me conciliate work family. I turned down managerial jobs in EADA, because you have much more difficulty to try to conciliate. So that's definitely a big challenge. And the second challenge, Sim, is that how much longer can we actually stay up until 3 a.m. grading papers?
I agree. I fully agree.
So we may be happy, as the research in the previous paper presented, but I think they stress, that's why I was wondering about how much stress, and that's what the data from Facebook shows, that women right now in the US are getting significantly more stress than men. And what Facebook did is that they stopped this year during the pandemic. They didn't look at performance evaluations. They gave bonus to everyone, women and men, because they saw that women are the ones who take the most work at home, and they're the ones who are more stressful because of that. Even though they might be satisfied and happy taking care of their family, but that's 2 jobs that they are doing it. So
Appreciably.
Thank you, ma'am. In fact, in one of the yesterday sessions, I believe either Gauri ma'am or Anukrita ma'am, one of them mentioned that like we women have this inherent, desire to be proving ourselves to be good at everything. So like, and we can do this also, we can do that also, and that is one of one of the reasons which can add up to the stress. We want to give it 100% to everything, probably. So thank you, Shuchi ma'am. So after this, we have this presentation from Miss Charul Garg. So I would request ma'am to kindly switch on her video and the Zoom management team to make her as the co-host. Miss Charul Garg, and the title of her presentation is A Study on the Need-Based Motivation for Working from Home.
Ma'am, I can't find Charul ma'am here in the meeting.
So if any Roli ma'am or Parul ma'am, if you could please confirm her presence. Roli ma'am, you were on mute, Roli ma'am.
Okay. Actually, ma'am, one of our students was supposed to present that paper. I'll just get in touch with her. Meanwhile, you can go ahead with the next one.
Okay, okay, thank you. Thanks for the confirmation, ma'am. So meanwhile, Roli ma'am is confirming for the paper by Ms. Charul Garg. I would request Dr. Anshu Yadav to be ready with her presentation. The title of the paper is The Concept of Equity and Its Effect on Job Satisfaction During Remote Working Due to Coronavirus with Mediating Role of Gender Discrimination.
Ma'am, Dr. Anshu is also not there in the meeting by this name.
Okay, so we need this confirmation from, we'll see it shortly, ma'am.
Is Ayush there in the meeting?
Yes, Ayush is very much here, ma'am. Yes, he
has recently joined, is there.
Ayush, are you presenting Charul ma'am's paper?
Yes, I could get his text from him. So Ayush, I would request the Zoom management team to make him as one of the co-hosts. So Aline ma'am and Seema ma'am, Ayush, one of our students, would be presenting this paper on behalf of Ms. Charul Garg. The title, I mentioned it shortly, that it's the concept, it's a study on the need-based motivation for working from home. So ma'am, for some inadvertible reasons, could not present it. So Ayush should be presenting it on her behalf.
Ma'am, he has been made the co-host by sir.
Yes,
hello ma'am, hello teachers. Hello everyone. I'm very sorry. I just got disconnected. Some network issues from my side. I'm very sorry for that. Just give me a second. I'll just start with my presentation.
Yes, Ayush, you may share your screen.
Yes, ma'am. I hope I and the PPT is visible.
Yeah, it is very much visible. Please put it on the slideshow, Ayush, and you may continue presenting.
All the best, Ayush.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, very good afternoon to one and all present here. This is Ayush Dubey, and on behalf of Ms. Charul Garg, research scholar at Amity University, Noida, I'm here to present her PPT on the topic being need-based motivation for remote working, a conceptual study. Now, let's get first of all the introduction. The deadly virus of COVID-19 has completely transformed our lives. From the time when the first case was discovered till date, no life is same as before. We have seen how not just our lives, but the way we work has changed. Okay, the way we work and the way we live. The lockdown has seen millions of lives being held up in four walls of our houses with limited or no movement at all. The concept of new normal has been woven into our lives with masks, sanitizers, work from home being an integral part of our lives now. Though it is true that not all sectors have been able to switch over to the concept of work from home, but majority of the workforce has been following this. Now, the objective of this paper is to seek to study the work from home or remote working patterns in individuals and how it has been affecting them. Now, though the concept of remote working was welcomed by all, and given the fact that they're saved from movements. Okay, the movement from work to the workplace that was reduced, that was now not there at all. They were getting more time at home with their families, or something that we presumed would be there, that we will get more time with our families. But after at least 8 months of the remote working, the concept has now started impacting lives in a different way. The paper seeks to study the various impacts of social life of a professional along with its effects on stress. Now, what are the findings? Now, if we talk about the findings, there are already a lot of papers that were studied for the following and were of some noteworthy points. Now, these are as follows. The concept of work from home has been easy and appreciated in its initial phases. Everyone appreciated the fact that there would be no movement. Again, people will not get infected and the work can be done in the comforts of our houses. But in the later phases, the concept of remote working was seen as a hurdle to a person's social life. In earlier presentations that were given by the fellow presenters, we see how these things have impacted people's personal and social life. Now, the concept of remote working has blurred the line between work from home and work off home. Now, with this, the thing is that not just as we were talking earlier, and this question came up, that what was the reason why even if people were there if we talk about the Indian households, that people are there, the families are there, but then again there was an concept of isolation. Why was it? Because it's not just about being there physically present with our families, but to be mentally and emotionally present with them too. Now, if you when earlier, what I used to happen was, when we used to get home from our work, we used to go to our work to run away from home, and then we used to run back to our houses to run away from the work. Now, all of this is at one single place. This is the reason why this is the reason that has caused that blurred line. There is no way we can identify where it is the work that of the office and work of the home itself. Now, the case of mental stress has been up as the employees have been missing their usual office life. Now, conclusion is the concept work at a healthy place only in a short run. The concept of work at a healthy pace only works at a short run. In a longer run, the model of work from home causes mental trouble in most of the cases. Now, the employers appreciate as the level of productivity and output is more because employees are spending more time on their work. But and again, we can see the concept of work from home is slowly entering all the sectors, and most of the corporates are adopting it permanently. Now, the employees should be careful and draw a line between work from home and work off home, so that the stress levels are low, so that be it a student, be it a professors, be it any person, any job person, or a person or an organization itself, there has to be a line that has to be drawn, or it has to be highlighted, to be exact, that this is work and this is being at home. With this, we come to the conclusion, and the PPT ends here. I won't be able to answer the questions in the most appropriate manner, but I'm not sure if I'll be taking it, if I'll be allowed to take questions. Ma'am, am I allowed to take questions?
Ayush, that's very kindful of you to be presenting this paper on behalf. I believe that the work has been done by the researcher themselves. So anything like Aline ma'am and Seema ma'am, over to you, please. So I believe the original work has been done by the researcher. They would be in a bit. But any
comments? No, I think it's interesting that we are seeing quite similar conclusions, at least when you're looking at the literature. No, that in your experiences, that the sense of isolation is a problem. Though it's nice to see it again. This was based on a literature review, right? Ayush? I don't know if you...
Ma'am, actually the whole PPT and the presentation was provided me by ma'am herself. I haven't gone through the paper itself. Good. I'm not actually sure. That's why I was a bit confused at whether I'd be able to give the right answers or the appropriate answers, to be exact.
But you did well, thank you.
Don't worry.
This paper was supposedly of Miss Charul Agarwal.
Yes, ma'am.
But she had something related to her PhD today. She's a research scholar in Amity University. So we just wanted her paper to be there in the conference. So we asked one of our students to present on her behalf. This PowerPoint presentation was sent by her only. Okay. So I don't think it would be fair for Ayush to answer questions.
We'll leave him. We'll leave him.
Yes.
But it was very interesting. Thank you, Ayush, and you did it really well.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ayush.
Thank you, Ayush. So one thing I just wanted to bring to everyone's notice and to Aline ma'am's, this presentation by Miss Ishika Ghanshala. So she's also one of our students, and her paper on this serial number 3, ma'am, impact of virtual working on mental health of employees. So she would not be able to present her paper.
Okay.
Okay. So now I would request next to the Zoom management team to make Khyati as one of the co-hosts, because she would be presenting this paper on behalf of Dr. Anshu Yadav. The title of the paper being The Concept of Equity and Its Effect on Job Satisfaction During Remote Working Due to Coronavirus with Mediating Role of Gender Discrimination. At serial number 6, Seema ma'am and Aline ma'am for your reference. So this is also a paper presentation in absentia by Khyati.
Good evening, everyone. Am I visible?
Yes, Khyati.
Yes.
Very much.
Okay, so I'll be sharing the screen. Ma'am, is the screen shared?
It's sharing, Khyati.
Ma'am, are you able to see it?
We are able to see it, Khyati.
Please start.
Please start.
Okay.
You can start your presentation.
So good evening, everyone. I am Khyati Mehentiretta and I study in Amity Business School. I am pursuing MBA HR, and on behalf of Dr. Anshu Yadav, Dr. Shweta Avasti and Dr. Taranjit ma'am, the research conducted on the concept of equity and its effect on the job satisfaction during remote working due to coronavirus with mediating role of gender discrimination. So I'll be presenting the paper. So this paper consists of introduction, objectives, research methodology, data analysis, and conclusion. Moving on to the introduction, women often face a lot of discrimination in organization and society. They are reportedly restricted to lower levels in the organization and are underrepresented in the top senior leadership, executive, and managerial positions. Now, this present research is related to the barriers which women face. So these obstacles or the barriers or the hindrances can be avoided if organizations manage equal respect, work equality, selection diversity, job rotation, work and family policies, and personal resources, because all these factors are directly correlated or linked to the job satisfaction. Facts also tell that women stuck at low and middle level in an organization are 4.8% as per the 2018 Fortune 1000. Moving on to the objectives of the research, the study focuses on gender discrimination and tends to find out its cause and effect on job satisfaction during remote working conditions. A questionnaire was prepared, which was a structured questionnaire, and the sample size was 100 females. These were given, the questions were on the basis of inequality among compensation, mentoring process, policy formed, resources given, and decision making. And the female employees were, especially in the education sector, were advised and asked to rate themselves on these statements regarding these questions, whether they strongly agree or disagree. And the sampling method was used as the convenient sampling technique, and this is basically a descriptive research. The data analysis, you can see the conceptual framework. The hypothesis was created wherein first was assumed that equality measures are important factor for determining this job satisfaction, and second was that the mediation, that is the gender discrimination, it plays an intervening role in the job satisfaction. The SPSS technique was used and factor analysis was done. All these factors like equal respect, work equality, relocation.
We are losing you on connectivity, Khyati.
I think we have lost connectivity.
Is it possible, ma'am, if you could ask her to switch off her video, that could improve her bandwidth?
She is there. She's there. I can see her.
Yes, she is there.
Sorry, actually.
Okay.
Actually, there was a light power cut. So, am I visible now?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to resume screen sharing, Kathy. Otherwise, it's all good.
Yes, ma'am. So is the screen visible?
Yeah, it is. Please continue.
So this is the data analysis wherein the SPSS analysis was done and factor analysis was done and correlation matrix you can see on the screen. Moving on to the component matrix, this figure you can see shows here that component 1 is most variables have significant values. Whereas if I talk about component 2 and 3, majority of the variables have small values. Then you can see here the statistics wherein equal respect, work equality, selection diversity, job rotation, work family policies, and personal resources were taken into consideration. These all factors directly influence the job satisfaction. And we have the mean, variance, and the Cronbach's alpha scores here on the table. For more clarity and reliability test, we have taken the mediating, first we have ignored the mediating variable and seen the effect of equality on job satisfaction during remote working, which is 0.682, significance at 0. Whereas when we included the mediating variable, that is the gender discrimination, the effect on job equality on job satisfaction during remote working was 0.457 at significance 0. Moving on to the end of the slide, the women have been formed and regarded as the sticky notes. They haven't, they are reportedly restricted in the lower levels of the organization and the managerial positions. In fact, the research also tends to see that job satisfaction during remote working could function as a buffer against conditions favoring a high turnover, because a small but significant relationship exists at a lower level of job satisfaction and turnover. This is because they are seemingly paid less than their male counterparts. Also, the supervisor or the sponsors do not help them to lead up the ladder of the organization. So thank you so much. Ma'am, you're muted.
Yeah, my bad. I was just mistakenly took Kathy to be our student, Kathy. So she's represented her faculty members and she's a student of Amity Business School. So Aline ma'am and Seema ma'am, your questions.
Is she a co-author to the paper?
No, ma'am. Actually, this research has been conducted by Dr. Anshu Yadav, Dr. Shweta Avasthi, and Dr. Taranjeet Duggal. And I am just here to present on behalf of Dr. Anshu Yadav this paper. So, but if you want, you can ask if I would like.
No, just a compliment for you that you were presenting, and the way you told about SPSS and all. It was truly commendable that you're a part of the paper. That's what
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Very good.
Same here. I think it was very interesting and you presented very well. It's again, I think there is we can see clearly like a common line in the presentations today in the terms of gender, the importance of feeling a perception that that you're treated equal in the workplace, and how does that influence the satisfaction. And so it was very interesting to see that. Thank you very much for sharing.
So Khyati, would you be taking the Q&A on behalf of your professors here?
Ma'am, I can take, but I don't know whether I would be like, you can ask if I can answer your queries.
So Khyati, because your professors have selected you and they've sent somebody from the institute itself, so we believe you might be a student of merit. So it's all up to you. If you would like to go for Q&A, we'll have it for you. If not, then no problem.
Ma'am, I'll try.
Okay, so Khyati wants to try.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions from you, Dr. Aline?
Well, I'm curious about in general, and I don't know, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer because I don't know if the data was in this PowerPoint. In general, what is the percentage of women how high was it, the percentage of women who responded that they felt
Ma'am,
discriminated?
it was there in the presentation. I'll just
Okay.
take you with the slide. It was 4.8%.
Okay.
1 second. Ma'am, it was 4.8% as revealed by 2018 Fortune 1000, that these women were able to go up the ladder in the CEO positions. So
no, yes, that's but in the data that she collected, your professors collected, I wonder,
yes, ma'am.
in their scale, I wonder how they, because you're measuring equality, no? If I understand, that's how you measure, like how they perceived. So there is variability. Some women, in fact, actually does perceive that they're being treated fairly. That's why I was wondering. There are, and this variation predicts job satisfaction, right? That's the conclusions. The woman who actually perceive. So companies,
Yes,
the conclusion here is that companies should be doing something in the environment to make you feel that you have a fair treatment. So no, that's interesting. Interesting finding. I don't have too many questions, in fact.
Ma'am, shall I stop sharing?
Yes, please do so, Kathy. Thank you so much for this presentation. So we now have one more and probably the last presentation for the technical session. So we have this presentation again on in absentia by one of the students. The first author of the paper is Dr. Purva Ranjan, and the co-author is Dr. Swati Jain. And the title of the paper is Work from Office or Work from Home and Beyond, an Era of Blended Hybrid Working System. So Simran would be presenting this paper on behalf of the authors. So I would request the Zoom management team to make her as the co-host. I think she is already the one. Simran, you may please start sharing your screen.
Just a second, ma'am. Okay. The screen is visible, ma'am?
Yes, please go ahead,
Okay.
Simran. Very much visible.
Good afternoon to everyone. So my topic is work from office and work from home, remote working and beyond, an era of blended and hybrid working system. I'm presenting on the behalf of Dr. Purva Ranjan and Dr. Swati Jain. Ma'am, is the slides moving? Yeah.
Yes, it's very much going, it's going well.
Okay.
Simran.
Okay. So the table of contents are introduction, paper development methodology and objectives, work from office issues and challenges, work from home issues and challenges, understanding blended hybrid working, suggestion and recommendation for blended working to corporates and employees, concluding remarks. So here comes the introduction. Work from office is not dead, but it must change to adapt new normal. Work from home and other remote working spaces are no longer a concept but have become the reality of today. But this is not the final stage of working model, which is in the long-term, reliable, efficient, and productive format. Employees and organizations have been on the remote working model for quite a few months now and have explored various dimensions of the same. There are several limitations of work from home or remote working process which can't be a long-term solution. This paper explores the gap in the work from office and work from home remote working model. It's a simple observation, a self-experience based paper which uncovers the dimension of the future of the workforce working process by creating a hybrid system on-site as well as off-site working. The paper opens avenues for future empirical research that can be conducted across different organizations, industries, countries, or communities to understand the way towards a hybrid working system. I could either watch it happen or to be a part of it. It is well said by Elon Musk. The other thing is research methodology. A conceptual take on the whole issue based on the review of available literature, articles, interviews, and self-experience. Objectives: understanding various formats of working. Number 2 is the insight into the blended approach of working. Number 3 are the suggestions and recommendations to the companies and the employees. Limitations, more of the articles available, less research papers available in this new concept. Number two, since it's at evolving phases, hands-off people have yet to understand the dynamics of it. Future scope of study. Empirical study can be done to understand the mindset of employees, and study can be conducted in different industries and different countries. Work from office issues and challenges. Advantages of work from home. Teamwork and collaboration for dream work outcome. Motivation, moral boosting of each other and helping the fellow colleagues at work. Direct control and hands-on involvement of supervisors and key personnel. Confidentiality is maintained at office related to storage of important files. Less digital distractions or family-led to distractions at office. Centralized work infrastructure like access to AVAs, printers, monitors, boardrooms, conference facilities, etc. Tech support system available to help any trouble during these working hours. Positive and inclusive work culture and sense of belongingness. Disadvantages of work from office. Travel time on both the sides, dealing with traffic jams adding to actual work hours. Cramped office spaces with social distancing issues. Hygiene and cleanliness factors not up to the mark. Outstation workers have to shift new cities and create new setups. High property rentals by companies adding to cost of working. Additional requirements of support staff to maintain offices. Employee has to manage the travel expenses leading to less take-home salary. Elevators and washrooms being hotbed of germs. And now work from home, remote working issues and challenges. Advantages of work from home. Flexible work schedule. The custom for environment based on being mindful of home situation. Relaxed working and no much preparation in dressing for home office. Managing home situation and kids supervision alongside. No office distraction and last minute meetings. Zero commuting and no traffic jam problems causing late coming. Saving no petrol, lunch or workwear clothing cost. More time to spend with loved ones. Easy to avoid crowded cabins and corridors, save at home. Company cost saving by giving less salary and saving on office rentals. Disadvantage of work from home. Lack of discipline due to easy access to Netflix, social media, etc. Lack of strict work routine due to no direct supervision. Missing important calls and messages. Lot of time spent on Zoom meetings leading to severe eye and mental fatigue. Lots of distraction due to family. And lack of proper work from home setup of table, chair, lamp, printer, high-speed Wi-Fi, AV tools for video conferencing, etc. Lack of quick person-to-person collaborations and teamwork. Lack of physical activity and outdoor fitness. Problem in supervision and work monitoring. Reduction in salary due to work from home by the employer. Work envisioned by employees as they can't be checked directly. Lack of work based upon support system. Fear of missing out the presence in boardroom or meeting with boss. And difficult to unplug the long working hours. Hybrid blended working system. Blended work approach, a mix of technology and face-to-face task deliverables. It combines traditional physical presence setup with online working, and employees have some control over the time, space, pace, and of the work. A blended work model offers more flexibility to decide what is the most efficient approach to respond to each specific task, environment and experiences that enable knowledge sharing and building individual and team level. Feeling of belonging, we are one team, work-life balance. Suggestions and recommendations for blending working model to corporates. Development of qualitative and quantitative parameters of productivity, identifying the drivers and obstacles of the workforce productivity change in the thought process at every level of organization to be achieved through the training and team building. Development of a cohesive system wherein the existing and evolving system can mutually upgrade. Development of a culture of trust and cooperation in the organization. Reworking the skills and competencies for the new startups. Investment in technological upgradations for a seamless organization structure. Stronger role of HR in balancing expectations of management and employees, and encouraging work culture to deal with the stresses of the changing systems. Patience, perseverance, and momentum to be maintained at all levels in the organization. Suggestions and recommendations for blended working model to the employees. So number one is reskilling and new skilling as per the industry and organization. Ethical work performance and work done. Discipline and dedication towards the organizational goals. Timeline development between the professional and personal life. Team building and trust building at various levels is very important, and shrinkingly away fears and anxieties and work towards the organizational achievements. Avoiding the misuse of organizational resources and channelize forces towards the final targets. Getting a cynic with the emerging trends while holding on to the existing key markers. Stay focused toward the self and organizational requirements. Be a part of the change in a constructive manner rather than the raising doubts about the changes that are occurring. Concluding remarks. The main key takeaways are: continue to spontaneous evolve and leave room for adjustments. Learn and learn more and upskill as much as possible. Technology evolves faster than the blink of an eye keeps updated with it. A caring team and management make everything worthwhile and effortless. Take enough rest at all the times to be more productive. A hybrid blended model blending remote working with in-office work, on-site and off-site mix delivers, in our humble opinion, the best of both worlds, refining work-life balance while guaranteeing that people feel connected to the team with a sense of belongingness and work together to fulfill the organization's purpose. That employees and teams learn and develop their skills, and that organizations have the elasticity to select the best work tactics to deliver the task at hand. A bright future beckons. The onus is on us through the hard work, honesty, and integrity to reach for the stars. By Nelson Mandela. Thank you.
Thank you, Simran. That was indeed very well presented. So any comments, Aline ma'am and Seema ma'am?
Thank you very much. It was also very interesting and very well presented. I have a question. I saw on your slides. Well, first of all, you mentioned interviews. Did you interview people for the study, or was it just the literature review?
Aline ma'am, I'm afraid that actually this paper was Simran is presenting it on behalf of
of the professors. Okay, so,
yes,
so
probably
she cannot answer.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's because it was also mentioned reduction in salary. So I was curious if it was because they also saw that literature review, or if, and then maybe you or someone else could answer that. In India, is there like a law or anything like that related to teleworking, where they are like officializing maybe salaries, who pays what, if the company pays? At the moment, no?
Ma'am, not.
I guess it is more of a firm
decisions being taken at an individual level, ma'am. Like for the labor laws, and I think Seema ma'am would be maybe in a better position to tell. But like if we've been hearing this often, we've been hearing this from people working at various places that there has been their pay cuts have been there. But what has been the legal angle to it? We're not
okay, so there is a rumor that because you are now working from home, you're reducing your salary, or is it because of the crisis?
That's yet to be explored. That can be taken up to be
Ma'am,
a.
may I say something? Yeah, ma'am, I think it is upon, industry to industry or, a business particular, whether they are in a crisis or not. And that depends whether they are cutting off the salaries or not. And plus, there's a fact also that if people are not coming to their jobs, there are obviously some, some expenses that are cut off. And that is why maybe there is a slight reduction in their salaries which is given to them.
Ma'am, I don't agree with this, but yes. Anyhow, I would just like to add, when you were presenting, then you also said that something from the office should come, like the furniture, the inland wire, because we are
Yeah,
investing so much of money on all those.
yeah.
Commuting doesn't incur so much of cost as does all these things, and that also when it is for a prolonged period. So if we talk about our country per se, when we talk about almost the major component, there's nothing, no specific law which everybody is abiding by. But yes, it is specifically industry specific, and since there's no law, there's no binding on anybody. Like certain people are making a salary cut on this pretext, as Simran has said, that since you're not traveling, so 80%, 70% of the salaries are given to the staff.
Wow.
But again, yeah, I think if it prolongs for a longer time, definitely a law has to be incorporated. Otherwise, profitability or no profitability is not a criteria nowadays. It's not related.
Yeah, and then you have the extreme case here in Spain, I think in France, where the employees' right, it's pretty strong. The unions and all. The argument is that they are spending electricity and air conditioning, furniture. So they actually should be getting more money.
Yes.
It's interesting to see that on the other side saying, no, you should be getting less because you're actually not coming to work.
Yeah,
But there's also
add to you. Yeah, please continue. Please continue, ma'am.
No. It's so that was it. That is it. The fact that I mean I think you needed to have a balance. Like I've been teleworking for the longest. For instance, IBM in 2004. That was years ago. They never paid extra, but they did provide the computer and the option to work from home. So if you do not provide the option to work from home, like you're saying, the hybrid format, the option to work from the office. No, IBM had you could go, you still can, I'm assuming, anywhere with your laptop in any building in the world of IBM with your laptop in an open space and connect. So I had the possibility to go to the office, right? But when you don't have the possibility to go to the office and you are in your home and you don't have too much space, then that is complicated. You have to have that space. So.
Ma'am, the answer to your question is quite subjective here, let alone India as a country altogether. Even in Delhi NCR, there are firms which are going forward with some percentage deductions for opting work from home. The reasons for them are subjective. Some firms actually are not making that much that they can pay to the employees, so they might be using this as an advantage, or rather a survival mechanism to go through this crisis. Some firms are also such who are providing more funds to you to make your home ergonomically I mean ergonomically fine to work with at home. So because we have noticed a lot of firms who have declared work from homes initially till the month of September, followed by December, and then January, and so on and so forth, expected to go beyond it. So they want their workforce to be comfortable. So it's quite subjective here. So there's no legal background towards it, as Seema ma'am has just suggested. But yeah, because there are a lot of private firms here, because we went to privatization in 1992. So after that, the policies are quite diverse depending on different industries and depending on different firms in the same industry as well. So this question won't have a particular answer to it, because it's very diverse, very diverse.
And also, ma'am, another thing, we have a lot of Indian corporates who are actually providing additional funds for furniture. They are providing you the office furniture so that you can have work. You can work at home.
you can make the workstation. So there are companies who are reimbursing for the internet connections and providing furnitures and everything to make your remote working very comfortable. But it really depends from company to company. So there's nothing, no uniformity which is there, depending upon the industry and also depending upon the size of the firms. So they are taking a decision based on that. But as such, no legal as such ramifications, nothing of that sort is there as of now.
And just to make a comment, I love the Netflix reference as a distraction. I'm like, I wonder if that was a self reflection or if it was surveyed. So, but I guess, but thank you very much. It was very interesting.
Thank you, Simran. You may stop share your screen. So with this, I believe we have come to we've covered all the presentations for today's session. So I would request Seema ma'am and Aline ma'am to kindly finalize this thing, because probably at the end of the session, the conference team would be downloading the information and it might not be editable later. So is that what we wanted to convey, Parul ma'am and Rodi ma'am? If you could please.
Yes. Actually, the thing is that we want to finalize the marks now so that there is no ambiguity later. We would be downloading the sheet and nothing can happen with that sheet after that. So I would request the external and the internal session chair to kindly upload their marks before this session ends.
Okay, so done from my right now.
Okay, yes, Alan ma'am.
Okay, so I can do it now. All right.
Okay, so meanwhile, Alan ma'am is summarizing the things. So we request all the participants to kindly fill the attendance cum feedback form, which is shared in the chat box by Professor Dr. Shuchi Goel. So thank you so much, without saying much, Alan ma'am and Seema ma'am, for sparing your valuable time for this insightful session. Really a lot of learning, a lot of cross-culture learning, the groundwork realities, how are they working at the end of the remote working, a lot of gender-based studies. So it was a lot of learning, ma'am. So Aline ma'am, if comfortable, please, I would request you to kindly give a brief synopsis of the presentations which have been done today and your overall, your general comments and observations about the paper presentations.
Sure, yes. I think we can definitely see a trend on the presentations and on what we all experiences in terms of the research. The literature review and the empirical research presented here shows that the remote work definitely has some benefits even during the pandemic. You know, we see, for instance, some of the papers showing the impact on satisfaction, that people who are working remotely have more satisfaction. We also see the impact on health, especially on isolation and stress, mental health as well. The topic of isolation was pretty much around in most of the papers. So I thought that was also interesting. And then one of the things that we saw in all of the papers is the role of gender, the differences between gender and this experience that we're all living. And interesting for the positive and for the negative, we saw one paper that thought that women actually were happier in this situation. Then we saw that literature review that was very interesting, mentioning the interesting and alarming, mentioning how women are getting hit during this crisis, where most of the industries are actually not, they're services industry is very, very difficult to work from home. And then we saw the final paper talk about the hybrid mode. So I think with those summaries, I think the future is more understanding that teleworking is here to stay, even though after the pandemic, which is a good thing. I think if we can take advantage of teleworking in the correct mode, it would be actually good, and in the future even good for women as well, because unfortunately right now we're the ones who focus more on caring for family responsibilities, unfortunately or fortunately, because we actually enjoy it, so we can actually do both. So I think there is more research, and it was nice to see the Indian perspective. And I think I encourage you all to publish the results, especially the people who actually collect empirical data. If you are, I'm happy to give you some feedback if you want to send me your empirical data or your paper, because I think we need more empirical data in different samples to try to understand this experience in different cultures, because this is a mode that was created in a different country and translated to another one, and it's each culture is unique. So I encourage you to collect more data, surveys, empirical, qualitative interviews, to keep investigating, because I think it's here to stay, and I think we need to understand more about it to take advantage of this. So thank you very much for your invitation. It was a pleasure to hear the students doing a great job presenting the papers of their professors, and even the professors as well, the scholars who are here. So it was a pleasure to sharing with you, and it's nice that something like the pandemic can allows us to, with the Zoom, to be in touch. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to travel all the way to India to give this talk. So it was a pleasure.
And ma'am, then we would have missed the opportunity to hear you.
Exactly.
Thanks to this time, I don't know whether it is going to be very controversial if I say this, but then we had the opportunity to hear you out. That's really amazing for all of us present in the session. So thank you for accepting our invitation and joining in. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aline ma'am, for coming. Thank you.
So one last request, Aline ma'am, we've taken so much of your time and energy. So if it's a go ahead from you that all the marks which have been entered, so we can download the sheet and.
Wait, hold on, I'm still doing it.
Okay, yes, you may please take your.
The Ishika, we didn't have her, right?
Yes, ma'am. She was absent. She could not present.
So okay, I'm confused. I was confused with the other man. Okay.
So probably we can mark her only, Parul ma'am or Roli ma'am. We could like.
Ma'am, what you can do is you can mention a comment there after the average marks column that the presenter was not there in the session, and then you can write your name beneath the remark that you're putting.
Parul ma'am, I've already done that for absentia students.
Okay, ma'am.
I think, yeah, Aline ma'am, you can only mark those people who had presented their own paper.
Okay. So I'm doing the marks right now.
So meanwhile, Aline ma'am is putting down the marks. Shanu ma'am, can we see a few glimpses of the conference so that Aline ma'am also has time to
certainly
without any pressure.
Yes, I would once again request the Zoom management team, Shuchi ma'am or Bhupendra sir, to please play the video.
Did it, huh? Oh.
Okay, ma'am. So Parul ma'am and Roli ma'am, please, you may kindly take a note of the same. You're on mute, Parul ma'am.
With your permission, Aline ma'am and Seema ma'am, I'm downloading this sheet, and these would be the final marks.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right?
That's fine.
And we would be announcing the best paper out of the average marks in the valedictory. Yes.
Okay, so with this, we formally come close to this wonderful, insightful session for the day one on the HR and OB track. I once again extend our heartfelt thanks to Professor Aline ma'am and Dr. Seema ma'am for their valuable time and contribution, to all the presenters, faculty members, and the students, and the Zoom management team, Bhupendra sir and Shuchi ma'am, without whose support this could not be done, and the conference conveners, the heart and soul of them being put to the conference. So with this, we come to the closure of this session. I would once again request all the participants and the attendees to kindly fill the feedback form. You may please copy the link with you. You may fill this and we then can close the session. To all the other session chairs who could there, I can see Shad sir attending and Aline ma'am, we would be requesting you to attend the further upcoming sessions. If you could spare your time for the upcoming sessions as well. So we have this till 28th of November.
The 28th, yes.
Till 28th.
I'll see you on the 28th, exactly.
28th and even before, if any of the sessions, if it can.
Of course, it's okay, thank you.
Ma'am, please join in for the panel discussion on 28th.
Yes, that definitely would be, but if any sessions before that.
Okay.
Okay, so you may, Aline ma'am, if like you can, the Google Sheet has been done, Parul ma'am and Roli ma'am, everything. Okay. So once again, Aline ma'am, thank you so much for all of your time. So we all would be in connect soon, and thank you very much once again. It was really indeed a very learning takeaway from the session. And definitely students, we the scholars, everyone have been wonderfully gained it from it. So you may choose to exit from the meeting, ma'am, if then we would be closing it afterwards.
Okay, thank you very much. I will leave.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will leave. It was a pleasure. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you. See you, ma'am. Thank you, Seema, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So we are closing the meeting. Bhupinder sir, you can close the meeting.
Okay, definitely, indeed, it was a very successful
Thank you so
session
much,
today.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
For the support, Shanu ma'am, Bhupinder sir, and Shuchi ma'am. Thank you so much for today's support. More things now ahead.
More power to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Bye bye.
Okay.
Thank you.